Hello and welcome. This is sunshineresources.org.ng. My name is Amos Sunshine and I'm your anchor. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can acquire cheap and genuine lands in Abuja FCT. Before then, I'd like to take you through some basic information about land and landed properties generally in Abuja FCT. Land, as we all know, is a natural resource which God has bestowed to mankind. Without land, virtually everything that man does on this earth will be fruitless and impossible. And that accounts for cordial relationship between man and his land space. It is the desire of every man, especially in the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, to acquire his own land space for his personal accommodation or business. Especially in the speed of exorbitant house demanded by landlords in the FCT and environs. The demand for land space in the FCT, Abuja, is constantly on the increase. This is due to influx of people from different parts of Nigeria into Abuja on a daily basis. Though from time immemorial, land or landed properties have remained one of the most lucrative investments ever known. Professionals refer to it as real estate investment. This is the only commodity you can buy, and it never depreciates in value as time advances, but rather it will ever continue to appreciate in value at all times. When you make good investment in land and landed properties, your money works for you. Now let's look at the preliminary things you must know before buying a plot. We'll look at the stages of land paper development. There are basically two stages of land paper development. These can also be interpreted as two types of land paper. They are offer of terms of grant, also known as conveyance of approval, certificate of occupancy. Now let's look at offer of terms of grant. Offer of terms of grant is the first paper that is issued out after land surveyors have completed a field survey of a layout. This paper is the right of occupancy granted to you in respect of a plot whose plot number and dimensions are on the offer paper. The paper also has the following content: survey fees, layout fees, grant rent, improvement, rent revision, purpose, premium, and preparation. You don't have to bother yourself about all those items listed above. I'll be referring to them where necessary as I proceed with this lecture. But the one that I would like to draw your attention to for now is the purpose, which can be residential, commercial, bank, school, hotel, church, filling station, farmland, or even multipurpose. The purpose of a land paper clearly specify what you want to use that paper for, or what you want to use that land for. So it is very important for you to note here that before you buy a land, then you have to know the purpose for which you are buying. If the land is for residential, then you look for residential paper. If the plot you're looking for is for commercial purpose, then you have to look for commercial paper. If it's a bank you want to build, you must look for a paper whose purpose is for bank only. If it's a school you want to establish, then you must look for a paper whose purpose is school. Also, the same thing applies to hotel, a church, filling station, farmland. Or if you don't know what you want to use your paper for, you're not sure what you want to use your plot for, then it is better to go for multi-purpose. In that way, it can serve any purpose that you may want in the future. It is important to note here that gross abuse of purpose can lead to demolition of structures. Other point you must note about offer paper is that you cannot use offer paper for development of your plot. If you have a land and the land has offer paper, you must first process the paper into certificate of occupancy before you can commence your development. you can submit your offer paper for processing into CFO in the area council where the said parcel of land is domiciled, or at AGIS. AGIS here means Abuja Geographic Information System. So these are the things you look out for on an offer paper: the plot number in square meter, name of layout, clear stamp of Department of Land Planning and Survey, of a zonal office depending on the area council the plot is located, signature of the zonal manager, secretary, land allocation advisory committee. A watermark of the Nigerian coat of arms is found very bold at the top and at the center of the paper. Please also note that slight variations which are authentic may exist in the offer papers depending on the area council in question, but all items listed above must be contained in any of them. Now let's look at the second stage of paper development, which is called certificate of occupancy. Certificate of occupancy is the right of occupancy given to you when you buy a plot or parcel of land. This is the second and final stage of land paper development. It is an instrument prepared at the land registry, signed by the minister in case of statutory right of occupancy, or by the local government council in case of customary right of occupancy. Now let's look at the structure of CFO, that is certificate of occupancy. CFO is a three-leaved document. In other words, it has 6 pages. The first page of CFO carries name and address of allottee, which could be anybody's name. It also specifies the amount to be paid as grant rent and tenement rent. At this juncture, I'm going to introduce you to some terms. Some of these terms are not usually familiar to people. People get embarrassed when these demands are placed upon them. So, what is grant rent? Grant rent is a charge paid to government for the use of the land. It is payable annually based on an approved rate. It is subject to periodic revision within the term of the lease. So what is tenement rent? It is a tax charged on a rented property and payable to a local council for services rendered by that council. It has to be a developed property and in full occupation by either a tenant or the owner of the property. In other words, the charges are not usually imposed on unoccupied property. So what is the difference between grant rent and tenement rent? Grant rent is paid for the use of the land, regardless of whether the land is in occupation or not by the holder of the title, while tenement rent is payable on rented property that is in full occupation by either a tenant or the landlord. Here's another term. What is premium? It is an amount of rent paid at the commencement of tenancy or on land before the issuance of a CFO. It is paid only once. So what of development levy? It is a charge paid to government over a plot of land for a particular purpose. In the FCT, it is paid before the issuance of a CFO, along with other bills known as initial bill. The FCT imposed the development levy in the year 2000, and money is intended to be used for the provision of infrastructures, particularly in areas of the city that are yet to have such facilities. Now the second page of CFO spells out the period given to you within which you must erect a specified building on your plot, including the minimum value in terms of cost required for such building. Also on the second page is the purpose for your plot, which I have already explained a while ago. The third page is a title deed plan of your plot. The TDP and site plans form part of the information on the certificate of occupancy, CFO. The TDP is a graphical representation of your plot on your CFO. It shows all the beacon numbers of your plot and the surrounding plot. It also reveals the demarcation between your plot and the adjacent plot. I will show you in due course how to locate each beacon when you are on your plot on site. The last page of your C of O contains the name of the layout in which your plot is located, the plot number and adjoins plot. It also has list of beacon that demarcated your plot. You will also find deed registry stamps of the Land Administration and Registry Office. Now let's look at the procedure you will take when buying a land. In your attempt to get a genuine land in Abuja, you must engage the services of other people. The three personnel whose services you will need are agents, surveyors, and lawyers. An agent has a good idea of landed properties that are put on sale by landowners in a particular area. Somehow, anyhow, you will get to meet one. Agents in a particular area have a network. In other words, different land agents have different properties in the land market. If the description, location, size, or type of the property you want to buy did not match any of the properties under his care, he will call his colleague who will automatically join the league. If you are getting a land through an agent, which is mostly the case in Abuja, the agent will usually take you around sellable plot in that area. Most times you will have to fit the bill of that journey that you make with the agent. When you spot a particular property or land that you like, the next thing that you do is you get a photocopy of that plot paper from him and check the beacon numbers on paper and on land. Make sure that the beacon numbers correspond. Please pay attention to the beacon numbers both on paper and on land. If you are satisfied with the beacon numbers, the next thing you need to do is to verify the authenticity of the land paper. You can proceed to land office of the area council where the land is located, or you simply go to Aegis with a photocopy of the land paper. If you are not satisfied with the observation you have made, you have to get a surveyor who is in position to explain any anomaly to you. If you can get an independent surveyor who participated in the carving out of that layout, the better. You can get a surveyor in the land office who you look at around the town, but they will charge you for the services they will render to you. Please, I want you to note that the act of using a surveyor to verify the authenticity of the plot you are about to buy is very important. Most people skip this stage and they run into trouble in the future. Most Abuja practicing surveyors have brief history of most cadastral layouts in Abuja. It is demanding as part of their profession to have a good idea about layout available in their domain. Even if he has no idea at that point in time, of course, he should know how to extract information about any layout he wants from a master plan. If the parcel of land is not beaconed and you are satisfied with the position, topography and location of the land, this is when you strictly need the service of a surveyor. Get the photocopy of the land paper and give it to your surveyor. The surveyor will use that paper to extract more information about your plot from a master plan, and with the aid of a navigation tool, he will show you your plot. Please do not take this exercise lightly. Verification of land papers is absolutely very important before you commence payment. Most people fall into the hand of fraudsters because they do not know how to go about this. So do not take it lightly. You must carry out every stage of what I have mentioned here. Now let's look at regularization of land title, also referred to as AG certification. Before paying for a plot in any government-approved layout, make sure also that the papers are complete. If you are buying an offer paper only, then make sure it has AG's certification. So what is AG certification? This is a certification that any land document carries that shows that the said land has been regularized by Aegis. This certificate also proves the authenticity of the land. Regularization of land titles was an exercise embarked upon by FCT government through through ages on complete computerization of the cadastral land and registry of the FCT. Look out for AG certification in any paper you are buying. If peradventure the paper has no AG certification and it has been proven that the paper is genuine, then the price ought to be low. Now let's look at a complete land document. If you are buying a C of O, that is a complete land paper, then the following document must follow. 1. C of O, that is certificate of occupancy paper. Offer of grant for the land in question. AG's certification. So these are the 3 documents that will be handed over to you if you are buying a complete land paper. Number 1 is C of O, number 2 is offer of grant, and number 3 is AG's certification. Please note that you can accept a land paper without AG certification once you have ascertained that that land is genuine by verification. But do not accept a C of O paper without an offer paper. This is not a complete land paper. You will tender the photocopies of all these papers to the appropriate offices when you want to develop your plot. So, a complete land paper must carry all the items that I have mentioned. Now let's look at economic plans on your plot. As we all know, the major occupation of the FCT indigenes is farming. Most of the land around FCT are farmland before the advent of federal government. On this basis, you will find economic trees and plant everywhere. Your plots maybe will have some of these economic plants, and as at the time of your development or the time you want to develop your plot, you will have to negotiate with the welfare department of the area council where your land is domiciled how much you're going to pay the indigenes before you cut down the plant. This is very important because sometimes it leads to embarrassment between the owner of the land and the indigenes. So ensure that you settle this very well before you commence development of your plot. Now let's look at buffer zone. If your plot is next to an express road, then there must be a buffer zone before your plot and the road. A buffer zone is the length of space that is created that can serve as an extension of the width of the expressway for future development, such as road dualization. Endeavor to check the master plan before the commencement of your work on your plot so that you can keep to the rules and regulation. Most people who violate or encroach into buffer zone when it's time for dualization, their plot are always swept away. It is said that Abuja is the only city that has a master plan. So whenever you want to commence development of your plot, it is advisable that you visit the master plan and see some features that are around your plot so that you don't violate some of the rules and regulations. Now let's look at power of attorney. Just like I said before, you will require the service of a lawyer to make land transaction complete, legal and authentic. After you have done all the necessary verification and you are sure beyond any reasonable doubt that the property you are about to buy is genuine, then you can make payment through the medium you all have agreed to. But I advise that at this juncture, you can inform your lawyer to prepare a power of attorney for you and the seller. You will have to give him a photocopy of the land paper you are about to buy for the preparation of the power of attorney. It is a very important legal document that spells out several conditions that will guide against the behavior of seller of the plot towards you and your newly purchased land. The sealed document, which will be signed by the seller and his or her witness, and also by the buyer and his or her witness, will give you an additional right and protection in case the seller gets up one day and proclaim that you stole his or her land paper or any other form of allegation that he or she can file against you. This is very important process in the purchase of land in Abuja. Most buyers tend to skip this, probably because of the expenditure involved in the process. But my candid advice to you is that do not jump all these protocols.